I'm excited to have you joining me today for the Five Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. If you've joined me on this quest already, go ahead and leave me a like so I know that you're here. And if this is the first video you've seen, consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Now, if you've already read the book and you want to go ahead and skip to the ROR section, you can click to this point in the video. But for those of you that have not read the Five Dysfunctions of a Team, or you want my summary, well, let's get started right now. As with all Lencioni books, our story begins with a fable. This fable is about Decision Tech, one of the prominent companies in Silicon Valley. They've got a more experienced executive team. They've got a more connected and experienced board. They've got more cash, and they've got better products and better technology. But despite all of this, they're still behind their competition. And while none of those facts have changed over the course of the last 2 years, Decision Tech certainly has. They're behind their competitors. Their CEO and one of their founders has been asked to step down, and they're bringing in a brand new CEO who is not experienced in the tech industry and is rather old for the industry at age 53. After observing the team for the first 2 weeks on the job, Catherine decided that they were completely dysfunctional and they could overcome this, but it was going to be tough. And the best way to do it was to schedule a couple of 2-day offsites to help the team learn about how dysfunctional they were, why they were dysfunctional, and what they could do to overcome that dysfunction and work more cohesively as a team. At the offsite, Catherine explained to the team how they were very dysfunctional, and there are currently 5 dysfunctions of a team, and this executive board and the company as a whole were hitting not one but all 5 of those dysfunctions. When asked what those dysfunctions were, she explained. Number 1, absence of trust. Number 2, fear of conflict. Number 3, lack of commitment. Number 4, avoidance of accountability. And number 5, inattention to results. She explained to the team that they weren't supposed to think about these dysfunctions in a list or in some random order, but rather think of it like you're building a pyramid and each dysfunction stacks upon one another. And the first dysfunction, that base level, the foundation of a dysfunctional team, is absence of trust. And all the way at the top is inattention to results. The foundation is the most important part because without a strong foundation of trust, you couldn't have a functional team. And that's why absence of trust is the foundation of a dysfunctional team. If you cannot trust the members of your team, you'll never be able to build upon anything functionally. So you'll just continue to build on that dysfunctional pyramid that they're currently in. We have to be able to trust our team. We have to be able to trust the people that are with us that are trying to accomplish the same goal. It's what an entire team is based on. And the way I think about it is I go back to my school days in elementary school, middle school, high school, when you were given a group project and they put everybody together. You had 3 groups of people. You had the person that didn't trust anybody else and they were going to do the job themselves. You had the people that knew there was somebody like that on their team and they were going to sit back and let that person do the entire job themselves. And then you had person number 3, and it was never a single person. These people had to be together for the circumstances to be right. Everybody knew they had a job and everybody was willing and able to work together to make their project the best. And those always turned out to be the best projects because the others, there was that dysfunction because the people that were actually doing all the work felt bitter towards everybody else on their team. And everybody else on their team didn't care because they knew somebody else was doing all the work. So to help the team begin to build trust on the most basic level, she has everybody go around the room, share something about themselves that no one on the team knows. Then she has everybody take a personality test and they reveal from that personality test results everybody's strengths and weaknesses. And then they get up once again and they reveal what they feel like their own true strength and their true weakness are when it comes to the team. By doing this, they were really putting themselves out there, really exposing themselves, and having to put trust in their team that they wouldn't come back and use this information against them, that they would see the value in everybody opening up to one another. And this worked for the most part, except with one team member, and that was Mikey, who just kind of refused to open up even as the first day came to an end and we moved into the second day. Now, while absence of trust is the foundation of a dysfunctional team and therefore the most important, you could argue that the top of the pyramid, the inattention to results, is the second most important dysfunction. And that's because if everybody is not focused on the results of a team, they're focused on their own results. They're focused on their own personal gains in the situation. And Catherine gives an example about her husband, who's a basketball coach. Now, he had a very talented player. He coaches high school basketball, very talented high school player, and one of the best he's ever had. But this player was more concerned about his own individual stats. If he scored 20 points and got 10 rebounds in a game, but the team lost, it didn't matter. He was going around the locker room. He was giving high fives and, he was trying to cheer everybody up, but he was in a great mood because he got his. He felt good about his performance, and he was just happy he hit his numbers because obviously he wants to move on personally to bigger and better things. He wants to get scouted by colleges and whatnot. However, if the team won, big or small, but let's say he only scored 5 or 6 points, he got 1 rebound, 1 assist, he had a bad game, well, he was in a sorry mood, he was sulking, and just really bringing the team down because he was focused on his own results and not the results of the team. While the top and the bottom of the pyramid are the most important aspects of the 5 dysfunctions of a team, the hardest dysfunction to actually overcome is the avoidance of accountability, because this dysfunction causes interpersonal conflict. We do not want to confront one another. We want peace and harmony. However, by not confronting one another on making sure everybody is achieving their individual task, and living up to their end of the bargain, well, we can't climb to the top and we can't achieve those desired results. But instead, we begin to fall down the pyramid and we tumble past lack of commitment and we go past fear of conflict and we hit that bottom foundation and we hit that absence of trust. Now, isn't it nice when things come together? Absolutely, because it makes sense. And that's why the pyramid is what it is. You can't have attention to results. You have inattention to results at the top because you're avoiding accountability, and then you cannot commit to the desired goals because you have a fear of conflict and you're not willing to discuss why you don't think that's the right commitment. And it all starts with an absence of trust. Amazing. Now it was time for Decision Tech to come up with their own results and their own goal for the company. And a lot of them thought this was going to be easy and that it was going to be simply the bottom line sales number. However, after looking into all the different aspects, it was a question of how do we get to that bottom line sales number that caused conflict, but productive conflict amongst the team. Was it going to be through marketing? Was it going to be through better technology? Was it going to be through client acquisition? What was going to be their focus to achieve those bottom line results? And that would be the results that they were going to be looking for. And in the end, it came down to client acquisition. Once they determined it was client acquisition, though, that wasn't the end of the story. What was amazing is that they did have this conflict, and everybody didn't feel like they were being productive because there was arguing going back and forth, and everybody was passionate about why their idea was the best. However, after listening to one another, they started to understand where everybody was coming from. They heard the arguments of everybody, why they believed what they believed, why they thought their point of view was the most important. They were building that trust, and they were understanding where everybody was coming from. And in the end, when they determined that client acquisition was the most important route because it would allow them to achieve all their goals, they knew that everybody's individual efforts throughout the entire company would need to be focused on client acquisition, because client acquisition would lead to the bottom line sales targets they needed to hit as a company. Catherine explained at the end of the offsite that they'd be having another offsite 2 weeks from now, and that also, as she was a new CEO, this team and this company was going to be going in a new direction. And that direction might not be one that everybody on the executive team would be on board with. And she was correct, because almost immediately, one of her executive team members resigned, and at the offsite 2 weeks later, she had to ask Mikey, who was just continuing to refuse to open up and continuing to refuse to really put the needs of the group ahead of her own. She had to ask her to leave because she just wasn't right for the culture. And Mikey agreed with that, begrudgingly. At the next offsite meeting, Mikey had been replaced, and the entire executive team was going over the 5 dysfunctions with their newest executive member. After going over the 5 dysfunctions, Catherine stopped the meeting and explained to everybody that a company with a funny name of Green Banana wanted to buy Decision Tech, and the entire board wanted to leave the decision up to the executive team, because despite it being a great offer, the board wanted to know, did this executive team have the fight in them to not only turn down the offer and turn down a nice payday, but fight to improve Decision Tech to one day sell for even more money, or even put the company out for an IPO where everybody could get rich and retire. And this one ends just how you'd expect it and just how you'd want it. The executive team says they want to fight, they want to be bigger and better than they've been before, and they think they can do it because they believe in themselves now. Joseph, the newest member that replaced Mikey, told everybody he's never been a part of a company like this, and he's excited to be a part of Decision Tech. And the credits roll on the Hallmark movie that is another Lencioni fable. So what I want to do real quick is a recap of the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and then I'm going to jump into my RORs. So let's hit up dysfunction number 1, absence of trust. Dysfunction number 2 is fear of conflict. Well, you've established trust. Now you've got a little bit of conflict you're willing to do, and we're moving up that pyramid. Dysfunction number 3 is lack of commitment. So when we don't trust one another and we're not going to confront one another, well, then we can't all get on board with whatever the idea is. As we move up the pyramid, slowly but surely, we're almost at the top, and we've got dysfunction number 4, avoidance of accountability. I told you I love the pyramid because it just makes sense. So in this scenario, it just makes so much sense as you move up. When you don't trust anybody, and you don't have an exchange of ideas through conflict, and you don't fully commit, you have a lack of commitment, how are you going to hold anybody accountable? It's going to be so easy for you to blame somebody else. And all of this leads us right into dysfunction number 5, the top of the pyramid. We have finally reached the peak with an inattention to results. Why is this at the top? Because at this point, you've made it this far up the pyramid of dysfunction, you do not care. You would rather jump off the pyramid than work with anybody on your team. You would rather quit your job than try to figure out how to work with anybody. You don't trust them. You don't want to talk to them. You don't want to have any conflict with them. You don't want to try to hold anybody accountable. You don't want to commit to any of their ideas. You don't care about anything. And let's be honest, we see this all the time in the workplace. We see this all the time with sports teams. And you know what? It's not for everybody. But here's who it is for. It is for leaders. Leaders have to overcome. Leaders have to lead their team through these dysfunctions and make their team become more functional through using the various techniques that are taught on how to overcome the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And that leads me to my RORs for the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Now, as you know, I believe every book you read is an investment on your own self-development, and I like to call those investments your return on reading, or RORs. So here are today's RORs for the 5 dysfunctions of a team. ROR number 1, trust has to be the foundation. There is a reason that these dysfunctions are not just listed in any random order. There is a reason that they are a pyramid. And just like any good house, just like any home, just like anything that requires a foundation, trust has to be the foundation in any team. And I'm going to take it back to that group project example I gave you earlier. When you got with a team for a group project, when your group was full of people you could trust, there was nothing better. There was nothing better. You knew you could all get together at somebody's house, or you could all meet up at the library or stay after school, or maybe everybody could go off on their own, and you trusted that everybody was going to do what was assigned to them. Everybody was going to do what they committed to doing. And that was generally the most functional group. You had the best time, you finished ahead of schedule, you got a better grade. When somebody had to carry the team, when somebody had to do most of the project themselves, and they barely relied on anybody else, well, the portions everybody else had to do, they didn't care, they were lacking, and the portion that one person didn't necessarily mesh as well. The grade was never what anybody wanted, and it's because there was a lack of trust. You never made it anywhere else on the pyramid because that foundation of trust was never there. Return number 2, the team comes first. There's just kind of a throwaway line in the middle of the fable where Catherine's talking to one of her executive team members, and she tells them, you've got to decide if you want to put your career ahead of the team or if you want to put the team ahead of your career. And he says back to her, well, why do those have to be separate? Why can't I want to have a successful career and want the team to succeed? And she tells him because one of them has to be more important. And it's very true. If you're looking out for your own self-interest above the interest of the team, just like the basketball player scenario Catherine gave everybody in the fable, then you're not necessarily going to care if the team doesn't achieve their goals as long as you look good, because you know you can use that to either leave and go to another company and advance your own career more so than you can help the team. And that's why you put your career ahead of the team. But in the end, if you put the team first, well, guess what? Within that company, you're going to grow. You're going to advance in your career. And that's why the team has to come first. And as a little aside to everybody, you know, one of the first videos I made, in fact, the first 2 videos I made were on another Patrick Lencioni book. It was The Ideal Team Player. I invite you to check it out. I'm going to leave a little notification, eye in the sky, somewhere up here right now. You're going to see them popping up. Go check those out because they also explain why you as an individual need to put the needs of your team ahead of your own needs. And in the end, that's going to help you become even more successful than if you were just looking out for yourself. And the final return number 3, is don't forget that not everybody is going to work out on your team. Unfortunately, not everybody is meant to be on every team, and not everybody is going to mesh with everybody else. Sometimes that's because there's a new leadership style. Sometimes it's because there's a new direction. Sometimes there's changes in your own personal life that cause you to view things differently or want to experience things differently than you did before. Sometimes it's on you, and you're the one who has to make that decision. You know what, this isn't the right environment for me. And sometimes that's going to be the leadership that says, I don't think this is working out. I don't think you want to be here. And I think deep down, we all know if it's coming top down, we all know, you're right, I don't want to be here. And if you know you don't want to be there because you don't like the environment you're in, you don't like that dysfunction, or you don't like the direction that things are going in, then it's time to start looking for something new. It's time to start that step and start that process of moving on, because sometimes it's just not the right fit. So to everybody watching the video, my question for you is, have you read this book? Do you have any other RORs that I may have missed? Let me know in the comment section down below. My final thoughts on the book: yes, I did absolutely enjoy it. Yes, I would recommend it to anybody. Yes, I would read it again. Interestingly enough, it is the second Lencioni book I featured on the channel. And in this book, in the Five Dysfunctions of a Team, Patrick mentions how he got a lot of inspiration for this book from the 5 Temptations of a CEO. I believe that a lot of this book helped inspire the ideal team player. So again, I'd invite you to check that out. And I do hope to feature the 5 Temptations of a CEO on this channel as well, because I think Lencioni is a fantastic author, and I think his books have a lot to offer everybody. That's going to do it for me here today. Before you leave, please let me know, what is your favorite Patrick Lencioni book and why? Look for my answer in the comment section. And remember, on your self-development journey, always keep growing.